So Trump has just finished out his inauguration, and this has obviously been one of the most televised events in years. There is a huge amount of information and things to know, and so in this video I'm going to give you all a very brief, quick update and breakdown on what exactly was just said. Now, the first really important thing to cover is that there is an immigration and border security national emergency. Obviously, this isn't any news at this point. The United States has been suffering under this for years at this point under the Biden administration, but Trump is very clear he's going to be taking this seriously. Now, I'm sure he and actually everyone else in this situation isn't doubting that many immigrants out there are great additions to America, but it's also very equally true that many are not, and many are not and have not been paying their fair share and are actually getting a lot of handouts for free. In particular, the run-up to this election was extremely controversial, with Trump and other Republican figures talking about this simple reality and the legacy media fighting back and claiming that this is all nonsense and it's a hoax, in particular with the Haitian gangs being a massive example of that. The legacy media has now, of course, admitted that it was all real, and their claims that it was a hoax was nothing more than an attempt at election manipulation. What else goes hand in hand with illegal immigration? Well, of course, under Trump, it's going to be deportations, and mass deportations are certainly coming. Basically, it's essential to fixing this illegal immigration problem. You cannot stop people from emigrating into a country illegally unless there are deportations there to change the way it all works. It's very simple, actually. Humans work based on an incentive structure that they work out themselves. If it is in someone's interest to illegally go into the United States because they don't get sent to prison, they don't get charged with any crimes, they don't get deported, and they just get free stuff, guess what? Millions and millions of people are going to do exactly that. Deportations are essential to switching this insane incentive structure around and to stopping the illegal immigration problem in the US. Alongside that then is, of course, the border wall and border security. This, of course, was Trump's massive campaign election thing from 2016, and large parts of the border are still literally wide open. So we should be fully expecting that wall to be putting back into construction. Next, we have trade and tariffs. Again, a massive thing that Trump is constantly going on and on about. Now, there are a couple things at play here. Of course, this is also an attempt to boost the domestic American industry, targeting countries with cheaper labor and weaker labor laws like Mexico and China. Obviously, these countries have been using their cheap labor as an advantage to profit off of the massive American economy, and the massive corporations, many of whom are American, are also using that cheap labor to outsource their production outside of the US to reduce their costs as well. It's entirely clear at this point that globalization is in a complete reversal at this point, and the security of international supply chains is a real issue that just can't be ignored anymore, and so Trump is going to be seeking to fix that issue. Another thing that a lot of people aren't realizing, though, is that actually Trump is very likely to target leftist governments, in particular ones that opposed Trump during his election campaign, like Canada, like the UK, and like those in the EU. Now, there was plenty of election interference from leftist governments outside of the United States trying to keep Trump out of power. The UK's governing Labour Party is a perfect example. They were trying and about to send 100 leftist politicians to the United States to directly campaign against Trump. Of course, that was found out pretty quickly, and there was a massive uproar with Trump stating outright that this is illegal election interference and they can't do it, so they backed down. But every major Labour politician has been speaking out against Trump for years, slandering him with as many insults as they can muster. Tensions are going to be tough between these leftist governments and Trump as he comes into power. The British ambassador is already being snubbed a little bit by Trump's administration, and there's a actually decent chance that tariffs are imposed against European countries that are typically thought of as allies. Yes, partly for American issues to defend American industry, but also likely due to political issues too. On the side of geopolitics, the two major issues we need to talk about are Ukraine and Israel. Obviously, Trump has stated that he wants to end the Ukraine and Russian war within 6 months of coming into power. It kicked off almost 3 years ago now. There's been an absolutely massive impact to global markets and to the American economy too. On top of that, it's just very expensive for the United States to support Ukraine, and the American government has up until now felt it very important to oppose Russia here in case a lack of opposition would lead to another Munich-like situation we saw 90 years ago with Hitler. Trump seems to believe, though, that that opposition has been stated and made clear, and that Russia and Ukraine have both paid a very heavy toll, and it's time to end the conflict to stop these huge amounts of casualties from happening, these huge amounts of deaths and monetary costs as well. On the end of the conflict between Hamas and Israel, of course, one of Trump's big stated aims is to get a full return of the hostages. That war, that conflict has been going on full speed for well over a year now, again at a massive cost to human life. It's led to a massive risk of escalation across the Middle East with Iran and Hezbollah as well, as this isn't just related to Israel and Palestine. Another example of it not just being related to that smaller area is that this has actually spilled out into the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea with the Houthis attacking ships. That obviously impacts the global cost of shipping, and that impacts the American and every economy around the world. And then on top of that, the American and other allied navies have had to take action to head on down there and to defend international shipping. Now already there is some progress here just from the fear and the reality that Trump is going to be coming into power. The Hezbollah ceasefire has been in the works since November. We'll have to see how it turns out, but it's definitely an improvement. Qatar have already taken action pretty much the weekend that Trump was announced the victor in the last election, and they forced Hamas to leave their country. And then there have also been recent talks over the last few days about some hostages being returned to Israel, about a potential ceasefire, but at this point I do think it's unclear how impactful this is going to be, as it seems that many of those hostages that are going to be returned may have already been killed. Of course, we can't just ignore another massive pillar of Trump's election campaign, which is government efficiency. Elon Musk is going to be taking a massive role in this task, and it's no wonder why, because government efficiency is at all-time lows. Yes, in the United States, but not just there, across the rest of the world too. And the reason for this is incredibly simple. Without incentives, bureaucrats have simply caused endless, ceaseless bloat. Spending is through the roof, and it is always rising more. The US national debt is now sitting at an absolutely ridiculous $36 trillion, which is more than $100,000 of national debt for every single American citizen. That will have to be paid off at some point, either through taxation or inflation. So one of Trump's very, very blatant stated aims is to cut the deficit, to stop wasting ridiculous amounts of money on useless things, and to reduce that debt burden across the country. There's also a big problem with remote work and ghost employees. COVID caused a lot of issues as millions suddenly started working from home, and poor managers weren't able to accurately track productivity, and they really had no reason to either, because again, there's no incentive structure in place when you're running a bureaucratic mess like a government. At this point, frankly, millions of people should have been forcibly returned to working in person, but they just haven't, and then millions more are being paid to jobs that have literally zero need, and some are getting paid to not even work at all. We saw that massively in the United Kingdom over the last few years as well. Getting rid of a few government departments is likely going to be happen. Again, the federal government is just bloated beyond belief, and there are literally dozens of government departments, again, many of which have literally no need for their existence. And of course, it's in these government departments' interests to bloat themselves up, to expand so that those running them can be more important and demand bigger salaries. Finally, then, there's also going to be a massive attack on healthcare bloat. RFK Jr. is going to be the new health secretary of the United States, and he is infamously opposed to big pharma and healthcare bloat. He's opposed to this flawed government health initiatives like the food pyramid and the war on fats in food that's basically all just rooted in the lobbying from the sugar industry decades ago. And of course, there's a massive recognition by RFK of mental health in the United States as a major issue. And that's it. The United States has a new president, and frankly, it's going to be incredible. And with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, making America healthy again, it will be a top presidential priority. Now, we know that RFK is overwhelmingly positive about the potential of psychedelic treatments, and between Elon Musk and Ramaswamy's Department of Government Efficiency and RFK's mission to helping tens of millions of Americans get to be on the high road, I am very bullish personally on psychedelics. Existing products are far inferior to the one that is in development stage from Cybin Inc. trading on the New York Stock Exchange as CYBN, as far as I can tell. I've looked in depth into Cybin Inc., and this is my first full-fledged Trump-era stock market bet. It is the sponsor of today's video, and the stock has been punished in the past few months, so it is cheap in my view, down 42% in the past year and trading near its all-time low, while the most supportive administration ever to its industry was just sworn in. Talk about an ideal scenario, but I want to show you the value proposition of Cybin Inc., which I am personally extremely excited about. Cybin Inc.'s market cap is $195 million US, which is lower today than the total sum the company has raised from major institutional players. Of the $250 million that was raised, Cybin has more than $150 million in cash still in the treasury. So working out the numbers, the enterprise value is around $45 million, and the company's breakthrough drug is passing regulatory hurdles with flying colors thus far. The company has passed several key milestones, yet the market is presently valuing the enterprise at $45 million only. Again, the company's incredible achievements seem to just be ignored since the stock is down 42% in the past year, trading near all-time lows, whilst the fundamentals and the tailwinds are as strong as ever. As Donald Trump takes office as the 47th president and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. becomes Secretary of Health, the US enters an era of innovation of healthcare policy. RFK Jr.'s vocal advocacy for the legalization and integration of psychedelic therapies into mainstream medicine positions Cybin Inc. as the potential ultimate stock to capitalize on this transformative shift. Cybin Inc. stands at the forefront of the psychedelic revelation, armed with FDA breakthrough therapy designation for CYB003, its flagship compound treating major depressive disorder. With a 100% response rate and 71% remission rate demonstrated in phase 2 trials, CYB003 redefines mental health treatment, delivering rapid, durable results where traditional pharmaceuticals have failed. RFK Jr.'s expected push for deregulation, combined with Trump's pro-business policies, creates fertile ground for Cybin to thrive. As the mental health crisis demands bold solutions, Cybin's robust pipeline, including treatments for anxiety disorders, perfectly aligns with RFK Jr.'s vision of cutting-edge science to heal America. The political winds have shifted. Cybin is uniquely positioned to benefit from the RFK-Trump healthcare revolution, standing as a leader in an industry poised to disrupt a $300 billion market. Investing in Cybin is investing into the future of medicine. Now, I've researched this topic for years, and I'm not the only one. The richest man ever, Elon Musk, is on board as well. Cybin Inc. is one of the most interesting drug development companies I've ever seen in my life. Psilocybin is already administered with great success to patients suffering from depression, but the current products require frequent visits to the clinic, year-long treatments, and seemingly no end to it. What Cybin Inc. is working on is revolutionary. The clinical trials have shown promising results after 2 intermittent doses 3 weeks apart. Patients report sustained results, long lines, a shortage of psychiatrists, the nanny state can't absorb the overload. Think of the increased productivity if depression can be cured with minimal visits to a clinic and lasting results. Look at the reviews that psychedelics are receiving when administered under supervision by professionals with proper care. They are becoming known to more and more Americans. We could be on the verge of further decriminalization under Trump's leadership. Cybin Inc.'s CYB003 development stage drug addresses major depressive disorder. The addressable market is massive, 300 million people worldwide, with 21 million in the United States. As recently as this July, Elon Musk continued to educate and inform his followers on X about the need for innovative psychedelic treatments. Joe Rogan is the world's top podcaster, and in the 3-hour conversation with VP Vance, Rogan goes on a 2-minute emotional plea for help and explains to the future vice president why veterans of the US Army who are asked to engage in combat, to risk their lives to protect their brothers in arms and suffer from trauma, can't access psychedelics, which, as Rogan says, has already helped Navy SEALs like Sean Ryan, who has the #2 podcast in the world today. This is the reason I'm so bullish on Cybin Inc., which has raised tens of millions of dollars at $16 a share and trades below $9 a share, more than 40% below what smart money paid for the stock. The results speak for themselves. As far as I'm aware, no competitor has been able to prove such strong positive results 4 months after administering only 2 doses. So I'm very happy that I could bring Cybin Inc. to your attention. Remember, the market cap of Cybin is $195 million, of which $150 million is cash. The addressable market for their drug, if it becomes commercial, is in the billions of dollars. Of course, research it and conduct your own independent due diligence.